I saw the signs long before she thought I did. The secret texts, the missing money, the way she looked at me like I was nothing more than an obstacle in her perfect little plan. She thought she was smart, that I was blind, that she could take what was mine and walk away without consequences. But I don't break that easily. I waited, I watched, and when the moment was right, I made my move. She never saw it coming. Now, as she sits in that courtroom, watching everything slip through her fingers, she finally realizes the truth. She was never in control. I was. Now let's start the story. The text arrived between sets at the gym. I'm leaving you and moving to Miami with my 20-year-old boyfriend. I've already emptied our joint account, haha. My hands didn't shake as I read it. My breath didn't hitch. The only sign that my wife of 12 years had just torched our marriage via text was the slight tightening of my jaw. I finished my last rep, wiped off the bench, and checked my phone again. Good luck. My name is James, and at 38, I had just received the most heartless goodbye in history. While Olivia was probably gloating over her grand exit, imagining me broken and in tears, I was calmly walking out of the gym, mind already moving 2 steps ahead. The signs had been there for months. Late nights at work, new clothes, an obsession with her phone. A few months ago, I had found a receipt for dinner for 2 at a high-end restaurant on a night she had claimed to be working late. That same evening, I had opened a separate bank account at a different bank. A week later, when she suggested combining our accounts for simplicity, I agreed with a smile. After moving my savings into my new account, the joint account she had just drained, it had exactly 2 months' worth of deposits left in it, just enough to keep her from getting suspicious. The rest, safely tucked away, along with meticulous records of every shady transaction she'd made over the past year. Another text buzzed. Don't bother begging. Daniel and I leave tomorrow. I'll send for my things later. Daniel, the young intern at her office. I'd met him at last year's holiday party. Noticed how he lingered too long in conversations with Olivia, how she laughed just a little too much at his jokes. He was young, naive, and full of himself. Exactly the type she'd manipulate into thinking he was special. I didn't reply. Instead, I called my lawyer. The one I'd consulted 2 months ago when I first saw the hotel charges on our credit card. It's time, I said simply. She just made her move. The papers are ready, she replied. I'll file them first thing tomorrow. Do you want me to have her served in Miami? No rush. Let her think she's won first. Another buzz from Olivia. I know this must be hard for you. You're not getting any younger, after all. At least you have your job to keep you busy. My job. My company. The one I had built from the ground up, while she complained about my late nights, called it my little side project. The business that now generated more revenue in a year than her marketing job had in a decade. I smiled, thinking of the certified letters that would be waiting for her when she landed in Miami. Let her enjoy her little victory while it lasted. That evening, I sat in our house. My house, since I had inherited it from my grandfather and kept it in my name despite Olivia's repeated attempts to get me to add her. Another lucky instinct that had paid off. While organizing the paperwork my lawyer would need, I found our wedding album. Olivia looked different then, before her midlife crisis turned her into someone I barely recognized. These days she dressed younger, tried too hard to keep up with social media trends, and used slang that sounded ridiculous coming from a woman of 40. My phone kept buzzing, each text more smug than the last. I've been planning this for months. Daniel understands me in ways you never could. You'll be fine. Maybe you'll find someone more your own age. Already told my family. They agree we grew apart. It's nobody's fault, really. I screenshotted each message, adding them to my evidence folder. Let her keep digging her own grave. My lawyer would love her casual admissions of premeditation and financial theft. Then came the final text. By the way, I used the joint card to book our flights and hotel. Consider it my parting gift, LOL. Perfect. I called the credit card company. Yes, I'd like to report fraudulent charges and cancel a card immediately. Of course, sir. Can you identify the charges? 2 first-class tickets to Miami, booked today. Hotel charges at the Royal Palm. And I'll need to remove my wife as an authorized user. Do you have documentation of the fraud? Text messages from my wife admitting she used our joint card to book travel with her boyfriend after emptying our bank account. I'll forward them now. The representative's professional tone couldn't quite hide her amusement as she canceled the charges. Olivia and Daniel would arrive at the airport tomorrow to find their tickets invalidated. Their hotel reservation canceled. Another buzz. Don't worry about the house. I'll let you stay there until you find something smaller. I actually laughed at that one. Did she really think she had any claim to my grandfather's house? Had her ego grown so large that she had forgotten whose name was on the deed? One more text. And I know your business means a lot to you. We can work out a fair payment for my half. Her half. Of my company. The one she had never lifted a finger to build. The one she had mocked before it became successful. I poured myself a glass of whiskey, the expensive bottle I'd been saving for a special occasion. This qualified. Tomorrow, Olivia would learn some hard truths about property law and business ownership. But tonight, I would savor the quiet and plan my next move. Morning brought a flurry of increasingly angry texts from Olivia. What the hell did you do to our credit card? The airline won't honor our tickets. The hotel canceled our reservation. Answer me. I silenced my phone and headed to work. Friday was always busy, and I had a full schedule. Life goes on, even when your wife runs off with an intern. Around noon, her mother called. James, Olivia told us everything. About how controlling you've been. How you pushed her away. She says you're being vindictive now, ruining her plans. I put her on speaker while I reviewed financial reports. Did she mention emptying our joint account and charging tickets for her and her boyfriend on our credit card? Silence. Then, well, she said you left her no choice. That you were cold and distant. Barbara, I have her texts. Want me to read them to you? The one where she brags about taking our money? Or maybe the one where she mocks my age? A pause. She did seem a bit cruel. I told her that message was inappropriate. I appreciate the call, Barbara. But my lawyer has advised minimal contact with Olivia's family during the proceedings. Proceedings? Already. Goodbye, Barbara. By late afternoon, Olivia's sister was spreading gossip through mutual friends. Apparently, Olivia and Daniel were stuck at a budget motel near the airport, their Miami dreams temporarily derailed. She had tried using her personal credit cards, but those had been maxed out for months. Another red flag I had noticed. My lawyer called with an update. Emergency hearing is scheduled for Monday. Given her admission of draining the account and committing credit card fraud, we're in a strong position to freeze all remaining assets. Has she been served yet? Not yet, my lawyer said, her tone crisp with efficiency. But she'll get the papers at her new motel address. Speaking of which, her boy toy's social media is proving to be an unexpected goldmine. He's been posting nonstop about their big escape, including some less than flattering comments about her. I smirked. Perfect. I had spent months quietly gathering every piece of evidence I needed to destroy Olivia. She thought she had outplayed me, thought she could drain our joint account, max out the credit cards, and leave me scrambling. She had no idea I had already put safeguards in place. My phone buzzed. A new text from Olivia. You think you're so smart? But I made copies of all our business records. Half of the shop is mine, and I'll take it. I forwarded the message straight to my lawyer. You'll love this one, I said. A pause. Then she chuckled. She really doesn't understand business law, does she? Your boutique was always in your name. She has no claim to it. Exactly. I replied, savoring the moment. Let her dig her grave even deeper. That evening, I poured myself a glass of whiskey and scrolled through my collected screenshots. Texts, credit card statements, proof of her premeditated theft. It was all there. Monday's emergency hearing was set to be a brutal wake-up call for Olivia. She thought she had left me broken, but she had underestimated the man she betrayed. By the time I was done, she wouldn't just regret leaving me. She'd wish she had never met me at all. James arrived at the courthouse, dressed sharply in a tailored suit, exuding confidence. Olivia, on the other hand, appeared nervous, her youthful arrogance dimming under the courthouse lights. My lawyer presented our case methodically, displaying Olivia's extravagant spending, her hidden credit card debts, and the transactions she made to fund her romantic getaways, all meticulously documented over months of careful planning. Your Honor, Olivia's lawyer began. My client acknowledges certain financial decisions were made hastily, but Mr. Harrison's actions have been cold and calculated. Calculated? My lawyer countered. You mean strategic? My client safeguarded his finances and maintained meticulous records of his wife's reckless spending. That's not cold. That's intelligent. The judge reviewed my records, the property deed to the house in my name alone, the business assets separated legally from marital finances, and the financial trail that proved Olivia's repeated misuse of our shared accounts. Mrs. Harrison, the judge addressed Olivia directly. You used joint credit cards to finance a lavish vacation with another man and transferred money out of shared accounts without consent. Do you deny this? Olivia swallowed hard. I was just trying to secure my future. By committing financial fraud, the judge responded dryly. And now you claim rights to assets that were legally protected from the start. Her lawyer tried one last time. The business thrived during their marriage. My client contributed to its growth. The business was established before the marriage. My lawyer cut in, and Mr. Harrison ensured financial separation throughout. We have documentation to prove it. I watched Olivia's face pale as the reality hit her. She had assumed I'd be an easy target, someone she could discard, while walking away with half of everything I built. She never considered that I had been watching, preparing, ensuring my future was untouchable. The court finds sufficient evidence of financial misconduct, the judge declared. All shared assets are frozen pending final dissolution. Mrs. Harrison is ordered to return any funds removed from joint accounts within 24 hours. But that money's gone. Olivia blurted out. I spent it on. Then I suggest you find a way to replace it, the judge interrupted. And Mrs. Harrison, the court does not look kindly on those who misuse shared finances for personal indulgences. Outside, I overheard Olivia and her affair partner arguing. Their plans of an easy, carefree life had shattered. The man she left me for wasn't interested in supporting her financially, and without access to my assets, she had nothing. The weeks that followed were filled with increasingly desperate attempts from her. She claimed she had contributed ideas to my business. She insisted she had invested money, all of which was disproven by my meticulous records. She's scrambling, my lawyer noted. Her AP isn't as eager to fund her lifestyle now that she's broke. Social media shows she's moved into a tiny rental, certainly a downgrade from what she's used to. Her family's tone changed, too. The same people who had initially called me cold were now reaching out, their messages laced with regret. We had no idea, her sister admitted. She told us you were controlling, that she had to escape. But then we saw the bank statements, the messages where she laughed about taking your money. That's not the sister I thought I knew. Her mother's voicemail was tearful. I can't believe what she's done to you, James. The way she spoke about replacing you, it's shameful. I raised her better. At least, I thought I did. I ignored them all. Their support might have meant something before, but now it felt like damage control. Meanwhile, my business thrived. Ironically, local gossip about my situation worked in my favor. Customers flooded in, eager to support the business of the man who had outplayed his cheating wife. My ex tried to do the same thing to me. One woman confided while making a purchase. Thought I'd just roll over and let him take everything. Men like that never expect us to be smarter. Olivia, however, didn't have the same luck. My phone still buzzed with her desperate texts, swinging between rage and manipulation. You ruined everything. I never meant to hurt you. You'll regret being so vindictive. We can fix this. Please, let's talk. I forwarded each one to my lawyer without a second thought. Through the grapevine, I heard her AP had started distancing himself. It turned out, dating a woman drowning in legal trouble wasn't the fantasy he'd envisioned. Olivia's social media posts shifted, vague quotes about toxic relationships, regret, and learning from mistakes. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered the way she had laughed about draining our account, how she had spoken about replacing me like I was disposable. Instead of pity, I felt pride. Pride in my foresight, my quiet strength, my ability to protect myself while she underestimated me. The final divorce hearing sealed it all. Olivia had no fight left in her. Gone was the smugness, replaced by desperation. Her AP was nowhere to be seen. Word had it, he had moved on to someone else. She had arrived in worn-out clothes, no longer flaunting the designer wardrobe my money had once provided. Her lawyer tried one last time. Your Honor, my client provided emotional support that contributed to the success of Mr. Harrison's business. My lawyer smirked. Emotional support? Like these messages belittling his work? Or these posts calling it his little hobby? The judge had enough. The final settlement reflected my careful planning. I kept my house, my business, and my assets. Olivia walked away with her personal belongings and her debts. You destroyed me, she hissed as we left the courthouse. I have nowhere to go. No, Olivia. You destroyed yourself. I just made sure you didn't destroy me, too. Her mother was waiting outside, ready to drive her to her new home, back in her childhood bedroom at 30. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. You planned this all along, she accused. You knew this would happen. No, I said simply. I just paid attention. And unlike you, I understood the value of keeping good records. Her mother stepped in between us. Enough, Olivia. You've embarrassed yourself enough. As they walked away, I heard her mother's voice rising in frustration. Honestly, what were you thinking? A reckless affair? Emptying accounts. I watched them disappear, feeling nothing but relief. Olivia thought she had written the ending to my story when she betrayed me. Instead, she had only triggered the final act of my plan. My phone buzzed, not with desperate texts from Olivia this time, but with notifications of new orders from my boutique's website. Life was moving forward, just not in the direction she had imagined. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, my boutique had expanded to a second location. The irony wasn't lost on me. While Olivia struggled to rebuild her life, the little shop she had dismissed was thriving under my control. I had hired 3 new employees and launched an online store that was gaining national traction. News of Olivia's situation trickled back through mutual acquaintances. She had tried dating apps, but men her age weren't interested in a woman with a reputation for betrayal and a failed marriage. Younger men, having heard through office gossip about her manipulations, steered clear. I had apparently warned my friends about her, sharing screenshots of her desperate attempts to reconnect after she had lost everything. Her career suffered, too. The company's HR department had launched an investigation into her relationship with a subordinate, resulting in a formal reprimand. The promotion she had been expecting went to someone else, someone who didn't have a history of inappropriate relationships with junior staff. She tried to claim gender bias. Amanda told me during an unexpected visit to my boutique. Said they were punishing her for dating younger. HR just added that complaint to her file. I was surprised to see her sister in my store, but her presence spoke volumes about how thoroughly Olivia had alienated her own family. I know we didn't support you at first, she admitted, running her fingers over a silk scarf. She played the victim so well, but watching how she handled everything, how she acted afterward, I'm ashamed we ever believed her. My lawyer kept me updated on Olivia's continued attempts to challenge the divorce settlement. Each petition was denied, her claims of unfair distribution dismissed based on the evidence of her own actions. She actually tried arguing that her text about emptying the account was just a joke, my lawyer told me, laughing. The judge asked if haha made theft less illegal. The store's success brought unexpected validation. Local business magazines wanted to feature my story, not as a scorned husband, but as a savvy entrepreneur who had protected his interests. Young business owners asked for advice about keeping personal and professional finances separate. The best protection is preparation, I told one young man who reminded me of my younger self. And always trust your instincts. Olivia's mother called occasionally, usually after Olivia had done something particularly self-destructive. She tried online gambling, hoping for a quick fix to her financial problems. She'd gotten involved with a pyramid scheme that promised fast returns. Each attempt to recover her former lifestyle just dug her deeper into trouble. I don't know where we went wrong with her. Her mother sighed during one call. Her father and I offered to help her get back on her feet if she'd just take responsibility for her actions. But she's still blaming everyone else. You, Mark, her company, the judge. I listened politely but maintained my distance. Their family drama wasn't my problem anymore. My life had moved forward, filled with plans for a 3rd store location and a possible expansion into men's accessories. The only reminder of Olivia's impact on my life was a framed screenshot hanging in my office, her final text before I blocked her number. Have fun with your little shop. At least it'll keep you busy in your old age. Below it sat my latest business award, proof that sometimes the best revenge is simply succeeding on your own terms. 1 year after the divorce, I hosted a grand opening for my 3rd store. The event attracted local media, and the story they wanted to tell wasn't about my failed marriage. It was about a successful businessman expanding his brand. Olivia's betrayal had become a mere footnote in my success story. During the event, Mark unexpectedly walked in. He looked younger than ever, or maybe I just felt that much stronger. He shifted uncomfortably, clutching his phone like a shield. I owe you an apology, he said quietly. I believed everything she told me about how you were cold, controlling, how you didn't support her dreams. Then I watched her try the same manipulation tactics on me when things got tough. I continued arranging a display of designer wallets. Those weren't her dreams, Mark. They were escapes. There's a difference. I know that now. He paused, then added, she tried to move in when you froze the accounts, thought my apartment would be temporary. After 2 weeks of her complaining about the size of my closet and suggesting I take out a loan for a bigger place, I understood what you meant about the difference between dreams and escapes. I actually laughed at that. Let me guess, she had big plans, but no way to fund them? Exactly. Everything was going to work out once her investments paid off, once she got that promotion, once her cryptocurrency definitely increased in value. He shook his head. I'm dating someone my own age now. We have student loans and a small apartment, but at least we're building something real. After he left, my assistant manager whispered, was that the boyfriend? No, I replied. That was just another person who learned the same lesson I did. Speaking of lessons, I gestured to a young couple examining our luxury watches. Let's talk about your idea for expanding our accessories line. The store had become more than just a business. It was a symbol of independence, resilience, and the power of preparation. Young entrepreneurs often sought my advice, and I always emphasized the importance of protecting their assets. Olivia's mother called one last time, not to discuss Olivia, but to thank me. You taught our family an important lesson, she said, about enabling bad behavior, about making excuses for cruelty. Olivia is still living in a rented room, still blaming everyone else for her problems. But we're not defending her anymore. That's your legacy to our family, showing us the difference between supporting someone and enabling them. I thought about that legacy as I reviewed plans for a 4th location. Olivia had intended to diminish me, to trade me in for a younger model and take half of everything I'd built. Instead, she'd inadvertently pushed me to become even stronger, more successful. My phone buzzed with a text from my lawyer. Olivia filed another petition to revisit the settlement. Judge dismissed it immediately and ordered her to pay court costs. Thought you'd enjoy that. I smiled, thinking of her in her tiny rented room, still trying to rewrite an ending that had been determined the moment she underestimated me. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting better. 2 years after Olivia's cruel text message, I received an invitation to speak at a men's business conference. The topic wasn't divorce or betrayal. It was about building and protecting a successful business. My story had evolved from a cautionary tale to an inspiration. During the Q&A session, a man asked about keeping business and personal finances separate. My wife says I'm being paranoid, that marriage means sharing everything. My ex-wife said the same thing. I replied, right up until she tried to claim half my business in our divorce. Trust your instincts. Protection isn't paranoia. The business had grown to 5 locations, each more successful than the last. The little shop Olivia had mocked now employed 30 people and had been featured in several national magazines. Through mutual friends, I heard Olivia had finally moved into a small apartment, barely making ends meet. She'd had to take a lower-paying job after her former company downsized, eliminating her position during restructuring. Her dating profile still listed her as young at heart, though her profile photo was clearly outdated. Mark, ironically, had become a regular customer at my original store location. He'd earned his business degree and started his own social media consulting company. You inspired me, he told me once, showing how a man can build something lasting instead of falling for empty promises. I kept Olivia's cruel text message framed in my office, not as a reminder of pain, but as proof of how far I'd come. Below it hung a sign that read, "Success is the best revenge." At the 5-year anniversary celebration of my original store, I stood addressing my employees and loyal customers. The space had been transformed from a single shop into the flagship store of a thriving business empire. Olivia's mother attended, though I hadn't sent her an invitation. She waited until the crowd thinned to approach me. "I saw Olivia yesterday," she said, smoothing her designer dress, one she'd bought from my store. She was talking about her glory days, about the life she could have had. She still doesn't understand that she didn't lose everything in the divorce. She threw it away. I thought about that text message, her casual cruelty, her assumption that I would crumble without her. Instead, I'd built something stronger than before. Each new store location was a testament to what men could achieve when they stopped dimming their light for someone who only wanted to use them. Olivia had written her own ending, and I had written mine.